I was not paid to kill him. I did it. I shoot him myself to free myself. I did not pay. Nobody sent me to kill him. He offended me. He's killing my family because he want to kill me. That's why I go for him. I do it for vengeance. I never do it before, but just for me to free, because I'm not free if the boy is alive.
You may not know this, but the man you just listened to was one of the most feared killers in Ebira land, Kogi State, Nigeria. The name his parents gave him was Abubakar Abdulkarim, but on the street, he was known by many nicknames, notably Ijo Boy and Ijogbon, which was translated to mean someone who likes trouble. However, out of all these titles, the only one that struck fear into the hearts of people, and even the police, was his status as the Commandant General of all the political thugs in Ebira land. This is the chilling story of Abubakar Abdulkarim, a vicious assassin who signed his own death warrant after giving his life to Christ. But in order for him to fully move away from his terrifying past, he had to eliminate one last person and then bury his remains in 3 different local government areas within Kogi State. Abubakar Abdulkarim was not just any ordinary criminal. He was the brain behind most of the political killings that had turned the region into a graveyard of broken dreams and shattered families. For years, Abubakar ruled the criminal world with an iron fist. Politicians who wanted their enemies silenced knew exactly who to call, and this person was always Abubakar Abdulkarim. He had perfected what he called the art of killing, and business was always booming as usual. With his gang of brutal thugs, he terrorized political opponents and eliminated anyone who stood in the way of his powerful clients. But success in the world of assassination came with a very terrible price for Abubakar. He had killed so many people that he lost count of the bodies. The ghosts of his victims haunted him day and night, making it impossible for him to find peace. Sleep became his enemy, and loneliness turned into torture as the faces of the dead appeared before him in the darkness. To cope with the constant torment, Abubakar turned to hard drugs. The chemicals numbed his mind and silenced the voices of his victims, but they could not wash away the blood on his hands. The Kogi State Police knew all about Abubakar and his deadly activities. For years, he had been a thorn in their flesh, always one step ahead of their investigations. Every time they got close to capturing him, he would vanish like smoke, leaving behind only death and destruction. His reputation grew with every successful kill, and soon he became untouchable. Politicians protected him because they needed his services, and the police struggled to build cases against someone who operated in the shadows and left no witnesses alive. But everything changed when a new governor came to power with a radical idea. In 2010, the then governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Ibrahim Idris, introduced something that nobody expected: an amnesty program for criminals in the state. The message was simple: surrender your weapons and walk free, or face the full wrath of the law. Abubakar watched from his hideout as other criminals began to surrender. He had no intention of giving up his lucrative business, but the new commissioner of police had different plans. The then commissioner of police issued a direct threat to Abubakar. He told him to either join other criminals and surrender, or he would be declared wanted with a massive manhunt to follow. Faced with the choice between capture and surrender, Abubakar made a decision that would change his life forever. He came out of hiding, disbanded his gang, and handed over all his weapons to the authorities. But this was just the beginning of a transformation that nobody saw coming. Shortly after surrendering his weapons, something extraordinary happened. Abubakar was watching television when a program featuring the now deceased Prophet T.B. Joshua of the Synagogue Church of All Nations in Lagos caught his attention. The message of redemption and forgiveness touched something deep inside the hardened criminal. Driven by an unexplainable desire to change his life, Abubakar made a journey to Lagos that would shock everyone who knew him. At the church, he did the unthinkable. He openly confessed all his crimes and asked for deliverance from his dark past. The prophet prayed for him and conducted a deliverance service, and when Abubakar returned to Kogi State, he claimed to be a changed man. He embraced Christianity and tried to live a new life, leaving behind his days as the Commandant General of Death. However, the politicians who had used his services were not celebrating his transformation. They were absolutely terrified. The same politicians who had once paid Abubakar to eliminate their enemies now saw him as their biggest threat. A born-again assassin with detailed knowledge of their crimes was a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. They could not trust that his conversion was real, and they certainly could not risk him deciding to confess to their involvement in his past murders. The solution was simple but deadly. Abubakar had to disappear forever. The politicians reached out to another thug named Farouk Lawal and gave him a contract that would seal both of their fates. The mission was clear: eliminate Abubakar before he could expose their secrets. Farouk Lawal began his deadly assignment with the patience of a professional killer. He studied Abubakar's movements, learned his routines, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. But Abubakar was no ordinary target. He was a former assassin who understood the game better than most. When Abubakar first heard rumors that someone had put a bounty on his head, he thought it was just gossip. After all, he was now a changed man, trying to live peacefully. However, Farouk was about to prove that the past never truly dies. The first strike came without any warning. Farouk went to Abubakar's house and killed his sister in cold blood, sending a clear message that this was no idle threat, but he was not finished yet. Next, Farouk abducted Abubakar's pregnant wife, planning to use her as bait to lure his target into a trap. However, Abubakar's former gang members, who were still loyal to their old leader, managed to rescue her before Farouk could carry out his plan. After the attacks on his family, Abubakar realized that his conversion meant nothing to those who wanted him dead. His Christian faith told him to forgive, but his survival instincts screamed for revenge. In the end, the old Abubakar made the final decision. He decided that to protect himself and his family, he had to eliminate Farouk before Farouk eliminated him. Using all the skills that had made him the most feared assassin in Ebira land, Abubakar tracked down his would-be killer. When he found Farouk, there was no mercy, no hesitation, and no witnesses. Abubakar eliminated his enemy with the same cold efficiency that had made him famous. But this time, he took an extra step that would seal his own fate. To ensure that Farouk could never be found, Abubakar cut the body into 3 pieces and buried each part in a different local government area across Kogi State. It was such a gruesome end to a deadly game of cat and mouse.
Kill somebody in Okene local government, dump the corpse in Adavi local government, come and bury the head in Okene local government. These are 3 local governments. I believe that he must have a link before he come to Okene. That is my concern.
After disposing of Farouk's body, Abubakar knew that his days in Kogi State were over. He fled to Port Harcourt in Rivers State, hoping to disappear into the crowded city and start afresh. Unfortunately, the police had learned about his latest kill, and this time, there would be no escape. They launched a nationwide manhunt that reached every corner of Nigeria, determined to bring the former Commandant General to justice. With excellent detective work and determination, the police tracked Abubakar to Port Harcourt and arrested him. The man, who had once been untouchable, was finally in custody, and his reign of terror was officially over. Back in Kogi State, Abubakar found himself in a familiar situation. He was facing interrogation by the same police force that had haunted him for years, but this time, he had no gang to protect him and also no way to run to. During questioning, Abubakar led the police to the 3 different locations where he had buried Farouk's remains. The police recovered all the remains and then took him into custody, pending legal proceedings and his eventual conviction. This marked the end of one of the most notorious criminal careers in Kogi State history. What do you think about this incredible story of crime, conviction, and consequence? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching.